Welcome to Sprint8. So for this week we had to do the sprite. As you can see here, our header file is also filled with documentation, which I'll mention in a bit, but the sprite just simply handles everything that the user will need to do. You can set angle, center, position, all of those lovely little things. It handles the sprite. All they need to do is pass in a key and it'll work from there. For the documentation, all of the user-facing code has been documented. However, the private functions that the user does not need to know about, those are still a work in progress. However, as I said, everything that the user does interact with is documented. So the sprite itself, I went over that. The AI has received a complete rework, so now it works perfectly fine. The model for AI and the player has now been updated to the tank that's on Perforce, so I can move the turret independently, because I couldn't do that with my old one. And then I also have a basic scene that just shows a very basic intro, which I will demonstrate later. For now, this is the main scene. We have our sprite rotating in the corner there, just to show off that, yay, it works. We can move around, we can move our turret independently, we can even angle it up and down, because now we also have bullet drop, which is currently very unnoticeable, but it is there. If I can get a shot on one of these, I can also demonstrate that they die. But, you know, it's proving rather hard, but the fact is that they do. One thing I also want to note is that the sprite, the bounding sphere is not blocked by the sprite at all. That's because it was bugging me, so I decided that the draw 2D step would happen after the visualizer processes commands. This is to make sure that no matter what I put in draw, if I need something else to be drawn in the engine step, no matter what, draw 2D always happens last. I don't see anything that could potentially break with this method, but hey, if this is going to absolutely destroy my engine, let me know. Moving on to the basic scene, as I mentioned, it is very, very basic. There's not much at all to talk about it, but I will show it off anyway, before we get into the documentation, of course. It simply has a a box rotating around in space, and this is just to show how to set up the model, how to rotate it around, how to register for update and draw and such, how to make things render onto the screen, so on and so forth. Later on, I'm going to be throwing in more scenes to demonstrate, again, sprites, probably collisions, things like that. As for the documentation, this is it right now. I'm still trying to figure this out. I was a bit pressed for time, and I couldn't figure out how to make the... what's the word? The intro, I guess. Show off how to... show off like how to do the basic scene stuff and so on and so forth. That's going to come down at a later date by next week. But right now, I still have to figure the rest of this stuff out. But as you can see, we have the private functions, like the constructors and destructors are obviously, I don't think they need to be documented. The private functions are currently not documented. But these ones that the user needs to know about are, there are a weird formatting bugs, like that shouldn't be bold at all. Some of the parameters don't get updated correctly. If I can find an example, yeah, right here. So we can see parameter K and then param EV. I don't know why it breaks like that, but it does. So that's another thing that I'm going to have to figure out. But the documentation is there, and despite these formatting bugs, is readable. So that's it for this week.